Belfoy, your cheerleader of dreams. I pray as you invest in yourself today, you're captivated and you're catapulted to live your dreams. If you've never subscribed to this podcast, just push the little red button to get consistent teaching, tools, and tips to help you live your dreams. In fact, today I want to talk to you about quitting. This is titled, I Quit. You know, my husband had a distant relative who was playing the lottery one day and won, I think it was around $1,000 playing the lottery. And she went up to her boss. She worked at a convenience store. She went up to her boss and she held up the ticket and she told her boss, I quit. That's not what I'm talking about, that type of quitting. Because then I think a few weeks later she went and got the job back, bless her heart. But anyway, I'm not referring to not having stickability and the art of staying with things until they succeed. There's so much truth in that. And some of you have heard how it took me 6 years to get 1 million views on this podcast. Well, now we have 1 million views every 6 weeks. Well, I had to learn to not quit. You know, that's not what I'm referring to when I say to quit, but there is a plus side to quitting. Now, let me explain. Sometimes the best thing you can do to win is to quit something. Now, here's what I mean by this message. Brendon Burchard, who's an amazing success coach, he's interviewed the highest performers in any field. I'm talking about sports, entertainment, sales, real estate, business, in order to write a book on the high performance habits. Now, these are things that he repeatedly observed as the top 6 career and business habits that lead to long-term success. Well, after dozens and dozens of interviews and 3 years writing this book, this was the first habit. Now, keep in mind, a habit is something you do repeatedly. This was the first habit he discovered that is so shocking and so hard to do, but it leads to massive success. He said they have a habit of quitting the wrong things fast. Quitting the wrong things fast. Now, when you talk with the world's highest performers, they have a pretty obvious pattern, he said, of quitting. He said, and frankly, they quit faster than other people. He said it's an actual observable pattern. Well, it was so obvious that they were conscious of what was right for them and what was wrong for them. And when they felt something was wrong for them, they cut and run, he said. Well, of course, we're taught things like quitting means choosing to lose. Quitting means you're taking the easy way out. Quitting means you don't have perseverance or you didn't try hard enough. Or quitting means you're unclear about your vision. Well, I firmly believe that not quitting is an admirable trait. I'm the cheerleader of dreams, you know, who teaches discipline. The secret of your future is in your daily routine. I even have a magazine called The Routine. Keep doing it over and over and over, never stop. However, there are some things that you may need to quit or stop doing because God has something different. You've learned what you need to learn from this endeavor, and in order for you to go to the next level, you need to quit something. Now, here's the distinction that Brendon pointed out. He said these high performers didn't quit because it got difficult. He said that's not what this is about. They're not quitting due to hardship. They're quitting because it's the wrong thing. See, they understand that struggle is just part of the journey. They aren't quitting because of a lack of progress. They're quitting because it's not right for them. In fact, Joyce Meyer says when you're trying to discover God's will for your life, you have to step out and find out. You know, I have friends who have started churches and a couple years into it realized it wasn't God's ultimate plan for them, but they had to step out and go for it. And they learned so much from that experience that is total preparation for the bigger picture that God has. And I admire that. You know, I'd rather take a risk and find out than just wonder my whole life. But if it's wrong, quit. Stop. Don't force it to work. Go find what is right for you. I have other friends who always aspired to have their own Italian restaurant, and they took a big risk and stepped out, opened a bistro, and hated it. Well, that's great. You know, they took a big step of faith to see if this is really what God had for them. I admire that. But you know what? It prepared them for having an amazing business now. My husband, he has done so many things. I could just list them. He sold boot beer cups at a carnival. Boot beer floats, not root beer, boot beer. They were in a boot cup. Heat warmers, phone cards, T-shirts. Well, now he has one of the largest arcade distributors in the South. He buys and sells real estate and properties and develops it and stuff. But one time, remember, he branched out and he opened a retail shop for home entertainment. He hated it. So you know what? He quit. He quit doing that. Well, my point is, I admire people for stepping out in faith, but I also admire admitting when it's the wrong thing and get out. Thomas Edison said, I failed my way to success. Oprah says, when you stumble, it just means, oops, detour. And God has a way of taking what went wrong and turning it into success, because we all make mistakes. In fact, I have right here, Ivory soap. Do you know that it wasn't supposed to float, but because a batch was left in the mixer too long, apparently it had a large volume of air whipped into it, and the mistake became its unique selling point. It's the soap that floats. I read where Kellogg's Corn Flakes, this resulted when a pan was left, boiled wheat was left in a baking pan overnight, and all of a sudden they thought, well, let's put milk with it and turn it into cereal. I've also read where Scott towels, listen to this. These were launched when a toilet paper machine put too many layers of tissue together. So they turned the toilet paper into paper towels. What I'm saying is no matter what the outcome is, you will learn from it. It's preparing you for the right thing or the next thing that God has for you. Remember, quitters quit because of hardship. Winners quit because of priority and just a sensing inside that this season has ended. For example, you think about Simon Cowell. He walked away from what one magazine called the most lucrative job in the history of television. In fact, one magazine said that his work has been at the very apex of entertainment. I read where last season the average, viewers were 26 million watching American Idol. Well, in leaving Idol, Cowell walked away from a crazy compensated job, one requiring very little in return from him. Now, what I heard was he was paid in the neighborhood of $50 million a year, with much, much more on the table if he had returned to American Idol. Think about that. In fact, Simon's job description, they say, was 4 months each year to show up 2 days a week for about 3 hours at a CBS lot where American Idol is filmed. He would sit in his chair, listen to a handful of performances, deliver off-the-cuff opinions, no rehearsal, and from what they say, within no more than 15 minutes of the credits rolling, Simon Cowell was behind the wheel of his Bugatti driving away. His day's work is done. So think about that. In sheer dollars per hours of work, Cowell's deal is incomparable to anything else in entertainment. Now that's from thedailybeast.com. And still, he quit. Why? Well, in a show I saw called Objectified, I saw Simon Cowell explain that he quit American Idol because he was having that Sunday night, Monday morning dreadful feeling. He said there was no more passion. He was miserable. He was bored. He said that's when he knew it was time to quit. So, how do these high performers know when it's time to quit? Number one, there's no peace. Now, I do believe that God leads us and speaks to us inside. He said in His Word, my sheep know my voice. Joyce Meyer says one of the biggest signs that you're out of the will of God is the Holy Spirit withdraws your peace. You just don't have peace. Number two, Brendan said, identify what makes you bored or miserable. Number three, identify that which makes you come alive. When you entertain the thought of quitting this thing, how does it make you feel? Do you feel light? Do you feel peace? Do you feel excitement? These could be indicators that God is getting ready to do a new thing. Now, major point, real quick. Brendan Burchard said, you don't have to know every step along the way, but if you know that this thing is making you miserable, after you tried to engage in it, you tried to be passionate about it, you gave it your best, but it didn't get any more fulfilling, that's when it's time to quit. John Maxwell says, what are you going to give up to go up? So, leave or quit that which makes you miserable or bored for that which makes you motivated and come alive. So I hope you enjoyed this, and if God's speaking to you, just start journaling your time with the Lord, and I believe you'll know what to do. And let me just say real quick, our subscriber of the week, I am so proud of you. This is Lilia Ristozova. Some of these names are just amazing. I love it. She writes, hi, Terry. I want to tell you a big thank you for your podcast, for your books, and now for Vision 101, our online coaching course. I started Vision 101, and it's really helpful for me. You teach me how to think successful, how to change the way I treat myself, and most importantly, how to be closer to God. You are an inspiration for me. Thank you. Lilia, thank you so much. You melt my heart, and I'm thrilled to hear that you're changing your whole mindset and getting closer to God. Now, I firmly believe that not quitting is an admirable trait. I'm the cheerleader of dreams, like I said, who teaches discipline and determination. However, there are some things that you may need to quit or stop doing because God has something different. And you may be confused in a certain situation on whether to persevere and not quit, or thinking maybe it's time to do something different. That's why I put together a free download for you. This will show you the 10 signs that it's time to quit. All you gotta do is click the link in the description to download 10 signs you need to quit. This will not only help you identify what you need to stop, but it's going to show you what God may be calling you towards. So I think you'll enjoy that. For more consistent motivation, be sure to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest. You can find my handles below. Click the little subscribe button so you can get weekly videos to make this your best year yet. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next week. Icing means something added to something good to make